Brian from Garage Mahal. Today we are working on a Ford Escape and doing a master cylinder replacement. We actually did the booster pump about a week ago. Ran out of time, so now we're getting to the master cylinder. Anyway, first thing, make sure that your brake lines are going to be ready to come off easy enough. So, you know, always make sure. I pre-loosened them already. It was a 14 mil. And then under here, you make sure you got the right rotation. So you want to be going towards the driver compartment on this master cylinder. And this is a messy job. Gloves, make sure you have plenty of paper towels all over the place. I'm going to grab some more. And then you want to make sure you bench bleed your brake caliper. You make sure you brake bleed your master cylinder. And the process is pretty simple. Basically, you want a make sure yours comes with a kit. I usually buy my stuff from AutoZone typically, just because I can order all the different pieces that I need. But basically, what you're doing is you're filling up the master cylinder reservoir full. I put a paper towel in there so the lines don't come popping out. And then basically what you're doing is you're pumping a cylinder, and you want to make sure that you don't have any more bubbles coming out. This one's kind of bent. Well, you get the idea. And you want to make sure that this line is actually sitting in the brake fluid so you can get that done properly. Okay, so we're done with this part. So I'm gonna, as quickly as I can, pull these lines out. And brake fluid is super corrosive, so always be careful when you're doing that. And then I have these little plugs in here we're gonna put in, and hopefully they will hold while we get this other one off. Like I said, this is always a really messy process. Okay, so that master cylinder is basically just about ready to go. It's actually going to bleed out all over the place on me, I'm sure. Okay, so you want to get this in place and close to the car, and you want to put the cap on because that's actually going to help slow leakage down on this sucker. So we are just going to kind of rest this on its side. Let me see, where can I put this? There we go. I expect a Coca-Cola box. So we're going to lay that down there like that. And like I said, always have plenty of paper towels ready. And it's going to leak. I mean, it's inevitable. So you want to make sure that you get as much brake fluid out of that old one as possible. So I'm going to use my handy dandy turkey baster, and we are going to get as much out of this old one as we can. Now the only problem is that you end up needing a new turkey baster each and every time you do this, because it's going to swell this little suction cup on the end if it comes in contact with the brake fluid. And again, you want to try to get out as much as you can. They have little pumps that you can use. I like doing it like this. Okay, so we're gonna leak. On this end, I have paper towels down and I have a catch tray at the bottom. And when you're all done, you want to make sure that you spray brake cleaner all over this to kind of get all that stuff out of the way. Anyhow, we'll put the cap on to slow the leak. And it's basically, it's a 14 millimeter brake bolt that's on here. Once you get it so far, it should kind of be like ready to come off, hand loose. Okay. I like the new flexible cables on that. Yep, you're the wrong way. This always gets confusing. Trying to get this lined up is always a bit tricky. You know what? We're going to take the trans dipstick out so we get a little more clearance. I'll put a piece of paper towel over top of that to stop any debris from getting in the transmission. And we're just about able to do this hand tight. Like I said, it's going to leak all over the place. Make sure that you are spraying everything down when you are done. Alright, so that line's out. And we're going to use sacrificial towel to keep this stuff going. Like I said, it's going to start leaking out pretty good, but I got to catch tray at the bottom. Get these bolts loosened. Make sure we don't drop those. I'm going to cheat and put a magnet over on this side in case I do drop it. Almost. Okay. Alright, good. Disconnect your sensor line on that side. And then basically you are taking this old master cylinder out. She's leaking all over the place. I'll put it right there. And then this is the new one. So you're basically going to line it up on this side. And line it up to the push pin on the inside. And then there. Sorry, bump you guys. And then you want to put the bolts back in. The nuts, rather. I always like to start with magnets sometimes because you don't have to worry about dropping it, or as long as you get it lined up right. Okay, time is of the essence, so we want to make sure that we get at least one of these bolts put down. Okay. Alright, we'll tighten them up at the end, but time is of the essence here, so we want to make sure that we are getting this line in here. Get that lined up, start spinning. Alright, then we're going to go below here and make sure that we connect, make sure we pull this little rubber gasket out. And we'll put that one in there. Then we'll spin it, and this is going to be basically, it's clockwise spinning it in, but you're coming from underneath, so it's kind of hard to see which way you got to go. Alright, so basically it's going to be spinning it this way. And I lost the boot for up here, but okay, and always check your level. You don't want to make sure it doesn't leak out completely, because if it does, you're going to have to redo your bench bleed. Okay, so looks like I got the threads lined up, so we're going to start tightening this down. And they have to be snug. They don't have to be like He-Man tight, because then you risk the breaking the body and the bolt itself. And well, I'm having so much difficulties, I'm using flare wrenches, which is the only thing that you should be using on these. So you have more points of contact, so you're doing the least amount of damage possible. Alright. So we're almost there on this one. I said, you need a flare wrench on this, but they are difficult to maneuver sometimes. Okay, so there. We're nice and tight on that one. Now it's going to be tricky getting to the bottom one, which continues to leak like a sieve, obviously, but a couple turns here will stop that. And actually, I had that down pretty good. Okay, so that's nice and tight down there. Like I said, we got most of the leak here with the paper towels, so we'll throw that out. And then you don't want this stuff to sit around too long, so I have some brake cleaner, special mix that I use. I'll spray it all down. Okay, a regular brake cleaner. And if you listen, you can hear it dripping into my pan down below, so. Okay. We're good there. Now, put our sensor in. Make sure it snaps tight. We're good to go there. Okay, now we can make sure that we have these bolts tightened down nice and tight, torqued out. Okay, we're good there. Okay, we're good there. Alright, and that's how you change your master cylinder out real quick. And then you always have to do a brake bleed, so I'll walk you through that process, but it's basically loosening up the bleed valve on each brake caliper, each four corners, and then you go through and you're pushing down on the brake to make sure that you're pushing all the air out of the lines, that any of that got in there. But on top of that, you want to make sure that you keep this topped and filled as you're doing it. So you got to bleed, come back, check the level, bleed, come back, check the level. But other than that, that's that part of the process. Brian from Garage Mahal, thanks for watching the video, and thank you for subscribing. Be safe out there.